This is the Nikon D5600, a DSLR, a digital single lens reflex. Single lens being there. Reflex refers to a pop-up mirror which is just below this prism that's built into the camera. This has some very important features that you must be aware of in order to use it properly. First of all, the lens. The lens has a locking device on the side just here. That means that the lens is shortened to make it more compact to use. You must unlock the lens in order to actually use the camera. You cannot force it, it is locked. To unlock the lens, you have to push this button just here and turn this barrel at the same time. So I'll push it this way and I'll turn it. And you'll see the lens comes out, and now the lens will zoom like any other camera. The zoom goes from 18 to 55. Those numbers refer to 55 being closer in, a telephoto type lens. The 18 is wide angle, allowing more to be photographed in a scene. The camera has two screens here. This one is the optical viewfinder. This shows you exactly what's going through that lens. It will show you very clearly if it's in focus or out of focus. This is just a viewing monitor for you to actually look at photographs that you have taken and any camera settings that you have. But it also allows you to go to the live view, LV mode, and allow you to see live what's coming through the camera as well. Before we get into that though, let's start off by actually going through some basics on the camera. First of all of our cameras come with lens caps. You need to remove them and take care of them and do not lose them. Secondly, I recommend that whenever you use these cameras, you have the camera around your neck on these straps provided when it's not on a tripod. This is to keep it safe and secure at all times. Next, we want to turn the camera on. That's the on-off switch just there. You flip it once and it turns on. Just in the middle of that is the shutter release. This allows you to take photographs. Click it and away it goes. Click it and away it goes. Now I strongly recommend that you use the optical viewfinder most of the time because that gives you a far better image quality. Let's show you how to look through here. We're just going to turn the camera on. Now the camera shows you by default the camera settings that are on the camera already in the auto mode. But if we wish to look through and see live view mode, you can then flip this LV button just here, and then you'll be able to see exactly what the camera is seeing as well. Now one thing to note when you're using the LV mode is this is a sensitive screen, touch screen, which means that if you click on it anywhere, it will focus on that point and it will take a picture unless I've disabled that. So it's a very sensitive screen where you can easily flip between and take pictures, which is very nice in itself, but unfortunately means you can have accidents and find yourself taking pictures without realizing it. If you want to turn off the touch sensitive screen or disable it, you have to do it within the LV mode. Press the info button just here and you'll see on the left hand side there's a little finger there. You click on that and it's turned off. Also, whilst we're in here, if you press the info again, you can change the displays that it's showing us. So on this one, for instance, we can see that it's in video mode, showing us what our audio levels are if we were using that. This is the mode dial. This adjusts the camera's settings to take pictures in different ways that are better towards either sports or landscape photography. I'd prefer you to stay in the auto dial, get used to that. Be aware that it can easily be knocked and you could find yourself in a totally different setting. So hence I'm going to quickly talk about the other settings and what they do. So you know now that this is the auto setting. This is where the camera analyzes the scene and tries to choose the best settings to produce the best results. Now just below that we have auto flash off. It's the same as the auto mode, but it disables the flash gun. Just above that is the scene one. Scene offers options for capturing specific types of scenes. Say if you wish to take a portrait photograph or a landscape or a sports and so on, the camera will automatically choose the best settings for taking those sort of pictures. All you have to do is rotate the command dial to scroll through the available scene options. Next we have P. P is the program auto exposure. The camera selects both the f-stop and shutter speed to ensure the proper exposure, but you can choose from multiple combinations of the two settings to get you the best image quality that you are looking for. Next to that is S. S is shutter priority auto exposure. You set the shutter speed and the camera selects the f-stop that will produce the good exposure. A. A is aperture priority. You select the f-stop and the camera selects the shutter speed that will produce the best shot. M. M is you having complete control. This is the manual exposure. That's where you can adjust the shutter speed and the f-stop or the aperture all by yourself and have complete control. Next I want to talk to you about the exposure triangle. The exposure triangle are three things coming together to give you a perfect exposure. The first of that is the shutter speed. The shutter is the noise that we hear whenever we take a picture. That was a slow shutter. That was only 10th of a second. So that's a very slow shutter speed. We can increase that. I'm boosting up the number. Let's go all the way, 4,000ths of a second. That was faster. Now the faster the shutter speed, the better it is at freezing fast moving subjects. Okay? Now next to that is the aperture, the second thing, the aperture. In order to get the perfect exposure, you have to have the best aperture working together as well. Now, you may see just here, this is indicating to me that my exposure is wrong. It's well dark, too dark. So I have to change my shutter speed until it gets better. There it is in the middle. So it's saying with this shutter speed and with this aperture, I could get a very good photograph. Let's have a look. That's pretty good, pretty well exposed, very nice. Now to change the aperture, we have to press the button on the top here with a plus and minus, and we can then change the aperture. Now the smaller the number, in this case, the more light comes in. The larger the number, the less light comes in. The advantages of having the number up here is it gives you a really good depth of field. More will be in focus, whereas if you turn the number of the aperture down to f5, less will be in focus. So a picture here of the camera means that anything in the background will be out of focus. Okay? Now, probably the most important thing is your ISO. You have to work with your ISO with these other two to get the perfect exposure. At the moment, I'm using quite a large ISO number, and that would mean that it might be a lower quality compared to what it should be. Now I've pressed the info button there and I can easily adjust it, and I've gone for an 800, but as you can see that it's saying that it would be underexposed. So I'm just going to move my shutter speed in this case and then take a quick picture. It looks pretty good. Okay? So I try very hard to keep my ISO number as low as I possibly can to get the best quality, but sometimes that's not always possible, and you have to use high numbers, large numbers, 5,000 ISO, which means in this case it will be overexposed. And we'll just expose it correctly, because as you see it's plus, it's overexposed. I'm actually going to bring my shutter speed down a bit, and I'm going to increase my aperture. Now it says to me my exposure is perfect. That's pretty good. A handy thing to know is that you can easily change your ISO number without having to go into the info by pushing a button on the side here, the FM button, hold it down, and then you can use the scroll to quickly change your ISO number very easily, and then you can carry on taking your photographs. Now, I would like to talk to you about the camera's autofocus and manual focus. Normally I'd talk about how you'd use your optical viewfinder, but I can't show that visually at the moment, so I'll use the screen just here, the LCD screen, to give us more of an indication. It's far more obvious when you look through the actual optical viewfinder as to what's going on. So we wish to change the camera's autofocus settings. Quickest way to do it whilst we're here looking at the LCD is press this information button, this big I button, and then straight away you can see that it has AFF, so AF single, so it will just focus on something and stay there. AF full time, meaning it will focus continuously, so if it's a active fast moving object like a football or people running, you'd use that one. And then of course you can go into manual focus. So that is AF single, it will just stay on focused onto whichever you've pressed the shutter release button on and gets in focus, or AFF, which is full-time servo, meaning continuously focusing. Okay, now we'll just come back from that one, and just next to here is the AF area. Now this is fantastic. This gives you a fair bit of choice as to how much of the area you want the camera to be searching to be in focus. The first one, which is very useful, is the face priority. So if you are wishing to take portrait photographs, the camera will automatically detect a face and focus on the face as the key thing. And you'll see a square coming over the face indicating that's what it's prioritized onto. Then the next one over from that one, I have to click on it again, sorry. Next one now is normal focus area. So that's its default setting. It will focus anything within there and give you the red blobs indicating that they're in focus. Then the next one to that one is wide, and then the one right over from that one is your spot focus. So you can move the spot position anywhere you want and it will focus on that position. So if you have framed up a specific subject, as in this case a bird to the right, you could tell it that's where I want you to be in focus, on that bird's head just there. And if I just come out of the information, you'll see that my focus area is a lot smaller. Now we've talked about using the camera to take lots of pictures and using the shutter release button just here. If we wish to do videos, we use the LV mode that we talked about, and then we push this red button just here, and then the camera will automatically start recording. Then when we finish recording, we press the button in again and it stops recording. Now the camera records in stereo, but the microphones on here aren't very good. They're just on the top, so any breathing, it would interfere with the audio recording. Definitely not the best option. But if you want to, you can also connect in a microphone into the camera directly, and I'll just do that now. It has a cover right here. Just below in the middle is mic. You just open that out, and then you'll see in there that there's a little mic socket in there. You can just clip in your microphone like so, and then the camera will be taking all its audio feed from the external microphone. When you've finished recording and finished with the camera doing that work, make sure you close the cover up nicely so it's smooth. In order to view any photographs that you've taken as well, what you need to do is to press the play button just here. So press that and it will show you any previous photographs that you've taken on the camera. Lots of other pictures have been taken on here, and if you decide that you don't like any particular photograph, you can delete them. There's a lovely little waste bin just down there. We click on it once, it'll say, do you wish to delete it? Yes please, I'd like to delete it, and it deletes the image. Find another one, would you like to delete it? Yes please, you can delete it just like that. Now I'd like to show you the SD card. These cameras record on what's called an SD card. They're housed within the cameras just behind the grip of the camera. There is a little door just here. You actually push it just once and then it opens up automatically. And in there is the SD card, which you just basically push your finger and it will come out, pops out. There's our SD card. Now These SD cards have to be put in the same way as they've been brought out. You do not try to put them in the wrong way. If you put it where the picture is facing forward towards the lens, you'll find that it will not go in, and if you force it, you will break it. So to put our SD cards in, it has to be facing, the image has to be facing towards where you normally look. Place it in and lock. Now you close the door like so, and there you are. The camera is now got a new SD card or the existing SD card in there, and it's ready to work. So now you've finished taking all your photographs. You have taken all the pictures off of the SD card, copied them over to your computer or an external hard drive, and you have the copies that you need from this camera. Next, you need to format the card before returning it back to the resource room. In order to do that, you press the menu button just there, and in the menu you'll find all sorts of things. We only need to be talking at the moment about the setup menu, and at the very top you see just there, format card. Now it comes up with, are you sure you wish to format this card, yes or no? This is to make sure you absolutely understand you're going to wipe everything off of that card, and in this case, yes we do, because we've copied everything. We say yes, and then just to confirm that, you press the OK button just there, and then it will wipe everything off of the card. Now these cameras have one battery inside. In order to change the battery, you have to remove it off of the tripod, and just at the bottom here where the grip is where our battery compartment is. You can see just there's a little switch. I just flick it once and it will open up, revealing a battery inside. These ones, I'm afraid, only accept Nikon's own branded batteries. No any others will do. To release the battery, you need to push this yellow button just here, and you'll find it pops out. I'll just have to slightly help it because I've got it up the wrong way, and there is our battery ready. Okay, now in order to put a new battery back in, you have to make sure that these contact points are in the right place. If I try to put it in any other way, it just will not go in, and you will damage the camera and the battery necessarily. Yeah, won't work. So in order to put it in correctly, make sure you've got the contacts that are facing the inside of the camera just there, and you'll find it easily slots in just like that. And then you can close the hatch and the camera is ready to rock and roll. When you finish using the camera and you wish to put it back in the bag to store safely, you must again make sure that you put the lens back into the lock position. So in order to do that, you move it to the 18, then you push in the button at the side and then slightly turn it, and you'll hear it click into place. That is now locked and secured, ready to go away. And don't forget, make sure you got that lens cap back on there.